Hello, and welcome back to Heroic Stats and Any Heroics podcast. My name's Stephen. Today I've got with me John, Elliot, and Dave. And firstly, Elliot, who the fuck are you?
Who the fuck am I? I play Middle Earth occasionally. I'm part of a YouTube channel that does bat reps like once every 2 months.
Yep.
And yeah,
Dead channel, I heard.
dead channel. And when I'm not doing that in my spare time, I'm not editing videos.
Correct. Yeah. What's your professional capacity for this game? You've won some tournaments, right?
I have. I've won a team tournament. I was an integral pillar of the team for a GBHL 90. I've won a couple of local tournaments back in the day, and then also podiumed at a GBHL recently.
Yeah.
Riders of Third and Enjoyer.
Severe Riders of Third and Enjoyer. Bernard Hill lover.
Some would say addiction. Elliot's here for the crack, really. He's here for a good time, not a long game time. If it's not over in 3 turns, he's not interested. John, remind us who you are.
I'm John. I play Warhammer. I make display boards, and I do the stats for the show and all the grunt work.
You do the stats for this show. This is a good time to introduce me. Fuck you, Dave. Me being the rankings officer, I don't do the stats for this show. I do the stats for the GBHL. You're welcome. I'm the guy who, if you're a TO, you have to fill out all those forms for post-event once you've done all the hard work. And then I'll bug you until you get it right. That's me. I've also won a couple GBHLs, little ones, don't worry. And I podiumed 100 once. Regularly seen on top tables in games 4 or 5, sometimes 6, before I go back down to like the top 10, maybe top 15 where I belong. Dave, remind us, who are you?
Hello, I'm the competitive legitimacy of this podcast.
Wow.
Wow.
We've got 3 members of the top 20 in this podcast.
Come on, Dave.
Yeah, so I play this game competitively. I've been pretty successful over the last few years. And I've got a lot of podiums. I do stats as well, but mostly just my own stats. Maybe we'll go through them at some point, but that's for topic for another podcast. I play all kinds of armies and complain a lot when I lose.
Yep, sounds about right. It's all about you just had terrible luck, right, Dave?
Oh yeah. I've never lost a game due to bad decisions.
Yeah.
Except for all those other games.
Except for those other games.
Yeah. Anyway.
So what have we all been up to this last week, or Elliot, the last 26 years of your life in terms of hobbying? Me, I've done absolutely nothing because I'm waiting for my Mirkwood army to arrive, essentially. My Mirkwood elves. They're in the capable hands of Jordan's Ukrainian friends, don't ask.
Mm-hmm.
John?
I've been speed painting Hunter Orcs. Definitely a bit of a step down from some of my armies from last year, but there'll be 3 colours in base, so
Streaking
that
grime,
counts.
mate. Streaking grime.
Taking them for the theme, John?
Yeah, famously.
How much of what I just said was recorded?
I think we got all the audio, but your face was frozen. I think you were just that happy with yourself.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I'm not cutting this.
Yeah. Elliot, what have you been up to?
I've been painting a little bit more Khazad-dûm, starting to do their bases, which were definitely not done for Cardiff, but it's fine. And
you've had some recent tournament success with Khazad-dûm, right? You won a 1-day tournament in Wales, is that right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was a one day mini tournament on the downstairs in Firestorm on the Sunday.
Oh, was it at the same time as day 2 of Into the West?
It was, but that was purely upstairs as far as I'm aware. So yeah, absolutely smashed that. I don't. There's something got mixed up in the trophy giving out though, because that all happened downstairs, and then I didn't get one. So I don't. Yeah, but next year.
Weird.
It is weird. Yeah.
Dave, how are you getting on?
Good. I am currently painting a second golem because I found another golem model and I wanted to paint it. So okay.
What armies do you use that actually has golem?
Goblin Town has golem. I've been trying to collect a full fellowship for playing the scenarios as well, but mostly it was just because I wanted to paint golem with fish.
Are you admitting to being a closet scenario player, Dave?
No, it's a lie. I totally wanted it for Rangers Smith Pavilion. However,
Nice.
I don't actually know if I'm going to use it or not. I got a painted Golem as well. It's just I didn't want to repaint the base so they would match. That's literally the only reason.
Is that a potential leak in terms of your future armies?
It's something that I'm working on. Whether or not I
Okay.
use it, it will depend entirely on
Might
factors
see
outside of our control.
a bit of a resurgence in the
Yeah.
future with a
Do
shooting
I-
meta. Who knows?
Do I
Probably
need to
shooting
cut
meta,
this
but
out?
No, it's fine. I don't care that much.
Steven's just intending on making more editing work for me to leave that.
Well, when you said you weren't going to edit anything, he was like, "Let's test that, shall
Yes,
we?"
let's
Let's see how
test
far we
that
can
theory.
push him.
Right.
So there's the hobby section done. As we all know, this is a hobby podcast. So this last weekend just gone, we had a couple of 90s in the GBHL. We had a Nottingham GT, which is GBHL 90, and we also had a tournament in London, which Elliot actually went to, didn't you? It's a Darkfire Cafe in St
I'm going to
Albans.
asterisk this now and say St Albans is in London.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't-
okay. Sorry. Yeah,
I
sorry.
think you might be getting mixed up with a different venue, Stephen. But
Listen, St Albans is basically London, as far as I'm concerned.
oh,
That's what I say, but Londoners would disagree.
So first of all, let's talk about the Nottingham GT. This one was hosted in Nottingham. We're not quite sure who the TO is. There's been some discussion amongst other chats as well, trying to work out who's actually in charge of running things. We know there are a few names who came up. So really sorry that we're not shouting you out here. We're just genuinely not 100% sure, and we don't want to get it wrong and piss anyone off. 700 points, 6 games, 2 days. You were required to bring 2 armies, 1 evil, 1 good, and then it was a good versus evil format. I believe, interestingly enough, this one actually, you basically rolled, and if you'd played more than 3 goods, you then played evil instead. So it's to make sure that everyone got 3 of each, if that makes sense, which I think worked out. We did actually have
hard for the TO on that one, but
yeah, we did actually have a man on the ground there, not an actual Any Heroics member. We had Stuart McLean, so thank you very much for supporting the podcast by sending some of the photos that people are about to see, and also he did offer to send lists if they weren't on Longshanks. They were all on Longshanks. So first of all, most sporting, Jack Darlington.
Darling by name, darling by nature, apparently.
I think, John, you've actually got those the wrong way around.
Oh no!
Oh dear!
Another.
And I know because I messaged. I've been having a conversation with Mr. Darlington regarding this one, and because he won best painted, and we had a conversation before, and I saw his name come up, and I was like, "Oh, congratulations!" And because the prizes were quite interesting on this. If you won a prize, you got a bottle of champagne.
I saw that.
Bubbly of some sort, which I thought was a really novel idea.
Prosecco, fascinating. I've not seen that.
Entirely blame Tom Patterson. I did the names as he sent them to me.
There we go.
First thing that jumps out to me about this is, first of all, it's called a Nottingham GT, which is a little bit confusing because there is also the Warhammer World GT takes place in Nottingham, which this isn't. This is not that. This is a similarly named other tournament. But it does seem to have a similar format, which is to say 700 points good v evil has been the sort of traditional Warhammer World Grand Tournament formats for a long time, and it makes me wonder if this is a deliberate choice to be like a sort of, hey, let's have GT prep, give us a dry run of those lists, see how they work out, kind of thing, which would be what I would do if I was going to that, I think, and also the GT, which I'm not going to.
Should we have some look-sees at the best painted photos?
Yes, please. Because the shield were we're seeing the evil force first, which was 3 trolls and Goblin Town, obviously.
Yeah.
I think you can always tell the quality of a Goblin King player by how well they do the pustules.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Goblin King's got some very nice pustules there. I like the weird leopard print leather spots on his shoulders as well.
Yeah.
They've gone for a sort of Jack's gone for a sort of appears to be directional lighting for the campfire and the fire involved with 3 trolls.
The OSL is really nice.
When I first saw this, I wasn't sure if they were supposed to be like mid turning to stone, because I've seen that effect done before, but this is very cool. and they've put a little base on the campfire, and they've really bigged them all up. Big fan of the 3 trolls. I think they're very cool profiles.
Yeah, they also do something unique. But the shield work on this one, he got each. Well, actually, you can see it in front of you. Apologies, podcast listeners. Some nice little heraldry there. Some splits on the shields.
It's an Iron Hills army, by the way. If you can't, for those.
Yeah, sorry. It's we should have said it's an Iron Hills army. It's got a ballista, it's got Dane, and it's got a goat captain.
There's to be 3D printed alternate Dane sculpt, which is cool.
I think no, it's a converted version.
Is it?
Yeah, because you can still see it's got the hammer. It's just the boar is leaping and landing on its front trotters.
Hang
on.
Don't quote me on this, but I think that is a 3D print. However, if it's not, incredible job. It looks fantastic. The problem with Iron Hills 3D prints I've always found is I basically can't tell them apart from legit ones, to the point where actually Into the West, some people coming up to me being like, "Wow, I can't believe you put so much effort in to convert those Iron Hills warriors with swords." And it's like, I didn't. They're just 3D prints, possibly litigiously similar to the real ones. But never mind. I think this army looks phenomenal, and I think this is a well-deserved best army win.
As I say, he's also
really
a
nice.
lovely bloke. Sorry, I didn't quite get to shout out Tom Wilson as most sporting. Congratulations, Tom. It's always nice.
Well,
to
you know
see.
what they say: Wilson by name, Wilson by nature. Doesn't work quite so well when he's not called Darling.
No.
This is why the Irish say we have no crack.
Yeah, we don't have
mean?
any crackers.
What are
None
you
of us
talking
funny.
about? That's a banger. That's a sensible chuckle. That's all I can do.
Got to edit the tumbleweed in there, John.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Anyway,
more editing. Right, let's move on to Dave's actual area of expertise and look at some of the podium lists. Right, let me take a big breath. We got a lot of stuff. So 3rd place was James Campbell. His good side is led by Prince Imrahil with Armoured Horse and a Lance, 6 Knights of Dol Amroth, 1 Knight of Dol Amroth on horse, 6 Men-at-Arms of Dol Amroth, and a Clansman of Lemeden. His 2nd warband is led by the fat man himself, Forlong, on a horse, 6 more Knights of Dol Amroth, and another Knight of Dol Amroth with a horse, 6 Men-at-Arms of Dol Amroth, and his final warband's a big shooting block, Dwin here, with 6 Blackroot Vale archers and 6 Blackroot Vale archers with spear, for a total of 42 models and 13 bow. What do we think of this one, too?
First of all, it's screaming to me that he's only spent 694 points.
Yeah.
If you go to a tournament, unless you're Jay Achaya, shout out Jay, Chad, and you haven't spent all your points, you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage.
So this list is what I would call a fairly standard kind of fiefdoms build at 700. It's Imrahil Forlong doing here makes a lot of sense. What I would say is he's not maxed out his bows. Just glancing at that, he could have one
no,
more
he
bow.
has. He's 13 out of 39. Oh wait, no, because doing his counting. Sorry,
he's counting doing here. He's got 12 warriors with bows, and he's got 39 warriors. So he could have another. He could that Clansman of Lamadon could just be another Blackroot Vale archer in doing his warband. Also, he's got the same amount of pikes as he has knights. That is a knight heavy list, knights are really good, so I think that's cool. But with the extra points, he could probably fairly easily get himself another couple of models if he dropped a couple of knights into Clansman, because there's 6 points left over. Basically, it's not as he's not squeezed it to the point where it's maxed out, but I think it's like very solid. I mean that list. It's kind of fiefdoms in general is like it's like a legendary legion before legendary legions existed. Really, it's all of the synergies work well, and the main thing it lacks for me is always march, and that's always how it is with fiefdoms. If you're playing pure fiefdoms, you don't want to not take Dwin here because he ups your shooting so much, but then you don't have any march because Forlong and Imrahil are basically mandatory because they're so good value.
Yeah, they're really big hitters as well.
Yeah,
the split of the Rangers, the Blackroot Vale archers, 6 with spear, 6 without, strikes me as a kind of modelling thing you get based on kind of what you get in the box.
You don't get 6 Rangers with spear.
It might be
you get 1/3 Rangers with spear out of the box.
It might be that some people like to have functionally isolated warbands. So some of the meta you see at the moment is like Iron Hills Dwarves with squishy backline that are cheap, for example. Whereas every warband here can fight in a
Yeah.
in a two deep battle line,
Yeah.
which I think that's what they've gone for here.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Elliot, tell us about Forlong and doing his rules.
No. How about you tell me about them, Stephen, instead?
Yeah, sure. Forlong is a big beefy boy. He's got 3 wounds. He's strength 5, and he's also got a war spear and a war horn. He's a big chunky boy. And doing here, when he calls a heroic shoot, is it heroic shoot or heroic accuracy?
Ooh, questions.
Ooh,
You've already got
just as
this
shit
wrong.
as me.
You've already got this wrong, Stephen, but I'll let you carry on.
When he calls a heroic accuracy.
Ooh.
No. Anyway, Dave, what's the actual answer to the
Okay, so
question?
what you're quoting there is the rule on Black Root Veil Archers themselves. Black Root Veil Archers, when benefiting from a heroic shoot, reroll to wound. Doing here himself gives them reroll 1s to hit when they haven't moved within 6 of him. That one's also the star, which means that in a pure list, everyone benefits from it. But the only other model that could possibly benefit from it is doing here himself. So that's sort of pointless. Forlong gives everyone within 6 reroll 1s to wound in combat, which is pretty nice, actually.
It is very nice with the pikes as well, because you can
get a big block.
You can get a big block of just choppy chop.
Plus, the front guys can feint as well.
In theory, would doing here also affect Ministerious Warriors or Rangers?
He would not. However, other things calling heroic shoots does affect Black Root Veil Archers. And I've got a list at 800, actually, where you use a gambling and a one might Rohan hero to call infinite heroic shoots, which means that they always reroll to wound. It's a bit of a gimmick, but it is pretty cool.
If only good could shoot into combat.
Yeah.
So yeah, solid list. It's got a bit of hitting power. It's got a little bit of mobility. Numbers at 700, quite good.
Yeah, it's good.
Especially when you've got quite a lot. Well, I say quite a lot. You've got 12 D6 models. You've got quite a few D5 models, and you've got a little bit of shooting as well.
Yeah, and also Knights of Dalamroth on the horse with Lance, which is what he's got there, are actually really solid, independent heroes. Like they can go off because you can get them up to fight 5 near Imrahil, but also they've got high courage, they've got fight 4, they've got a Lance, they're D6, and they can benefit from Imrahil's banner within 12. So they're actually really good at chasing down like side objectives and little flanking blocks. So speaking from experience, Knights of Dalamroth are actually, when they're mounted up, are very solid.
And they're glorious looking.
Oh, they are. I'm sure this was a nice to look at army. Fiefdoms always are.
Yeah. So shall we move on to the evil list? Elliot, do you want to run us through this one?
Yeah, I can do. So this is Kirith Ungol Legendary Legion by the looks of things. We've got Shaggers, the man himself. Big up Shaggers. With armor and shield. He's got 8 Urukai with shield, so it's Mordor Urukai. 2 Mordor Urukai with Orc Bow. Second warband, he's got Gorbag with shield. Got an orc with the banner and shield, 9 orc warriors with shield and spear, 1 orc warrior with shield. And then third and fourth warbands, we basically got a split of Urukai and orc captains. With the Urukai oh dear. Oh dear. John, more cutting, John, more editing.
Sorry to interrupt.
Mordor Urukai captain with shield. He's got 7 Urukai with shield, 1 Urukai with an orc bow, or an orc now, as John would say. At the fourth warband, we got a little captain with shield, 8 orcs with shield and spear, and then 2 orcs with shield. And then in the fifth warband, who have we got? One of the best models in the game, Stephen.
She hungers for sweeter meat.
She hungers for sweeter meat. Probably like one of my favourite models outside of Rohan.
Whenever Elliot's making a model list, or we've recently been trying to write a doubles list, Elliot's been like, "Can we get Shelob in?" And I'm like, "Not if it's not in the Kirith Ungol Legion, because she's bad."
Well, you're gonna love what I'm taking in a few weeks to another tournament, Stephen.
He's cooking. He's cooking. Let him cook.
Let me cook, Stephen. Yeah. So she's warband number 5. 700 points total. Bang on. 44 models. 3 bows, but bows are overrated anyway. Shooting's like the worst mechanic in the game.
For those of you unaware what this Legendary Legion does, it essentially gives animosity to the Orcs and Urukai. So as long as they're both involved in the same fight, they gain +1 to wound. You also have a kind of a killing contest rule between Shagrat and Gorbag, which is quite nice and fluffy. What it essentially means is that most of the time Gorbag will get the bonus because Shagrat is just so consistently just chomping through stuff with strength 5 and the knockdown. And Shelob, this is the list which really gets Shelob. So she gains +1 attack when fighting men, dwarves, elves, and hobbits, which is quite a lot of models. You're missing like Uruk-hai, goblins, and orcs.
Especially if you're taking it to a Good v Evil tournament.
Yeah, a Good v Evil tournament. You're really cooking. Only thing you miss out on is spirits, but I think they might have the man key.
Well, if you win, you get the champagne. You're sorted.
Yeah. But she also, at the start of her move, can remove a friendly model from the table, and she then gets a full banner for all of her dice. So if she's charging, you get, and she's charging a good model, let's say it's a hobbit, elf, orc, not orcs. They're not sweeter. She gets 3 attacks because she gets 2 attacks. Oh, shouldn't swear. 1 attack base, 1 attack for charging,
or cutting,
and 1 for dwarves, elves, etc. You then get to re-roll a banner all 3 of those dice. 6 dice to win the fight. And then on the knockdown, you've got 6 dice at strength 7 with full venom re-rolls. You're probably killing whatever you're knocking down.
She's good. One of those things. I found that when using this Legion against, like, I played against Ali's dwarves quite a bit at his Khazad-dûm with the Vault Wardens, and it's like Vault Wardens are meant to be good versus monsters, but Shelob just absolutely mulches them. The Tower Shields is like, oh, you can't use your brutal power attacks, and it's like, I don't care. It's 5s with rerolls, baby.
Yeah.
Even though you're D9, it's nasty. So I'm a big Kirith Ungol enjoyer. I've used it to success. I've won hundreds with it. I like this list. I like what they've done with it. I do think 700 is a little bit of an awkward points level for it, just because you can't really sit down the numbers. I personally think it works brilliantly at 600. It fits perfectly, and it works great at 750. Anything else, it's sort of middling. But it's always fun to play, and in Good v Evil, it's extra good because, again, Shelob she's fine in Evil v Evil, but really you want that bonus if you can get it. It really makes her so much more reliable. Going from 2 dice when you charge to 3 dice, big improvement. Just an awesome list. I think it doesn't actually, like, I wouldn't go so far as to call it meta, but it does do fairly well into most things. Like, the list has a lot of natural synergies, and it doesn't struggle with anything particularly. Like, it doesn't do super well into really hardcore meta lists. Like, it doesn't like fighting Uruk-hai pike blocks and stuff. It doesn't like fighting dragon emperors. It doesn't really like fighting a lot of things, but it'll beat most things, or it can beat most things, which is cool. Pretty much the only thing it's lacking is a cavalry model.
It has the benefit of if it wins a fight,
spider dude.
If it wins a fight, it's probably killing. If you've got 2v1s. Also, the objective flexibility of Shelob when she ignores difficult terrain. Caveat, sort of. Swift movement, excellent rule. She's actually really good for stand fast, which was pointed out to me the other day. She's courage 4 with 6 will. So actually,
6 will.
She's sticking around and holding the list together, even if Shagrat and Gorbag aren't.
I'll say that.
And you look at retrieval, seize the prize, anything where you've got to get somewhere quickly and pick something up, she'll do it. She'll just fucking do it. No dismounting for her. She's already super fast.
Yeah, honestly, for me, this list is like, it has everything. The only thing if I had a wish list for this army list, I'd add orc trackers, and I would give the orc captains the ability to be mounted on wargs. But other than that, I think it's great. I think I personally don't bother with bows, really, especially not Uruk-hai bows. Sorry, the orc bows on the Mordor Uruk-hai. I see the appeal. I've got a few converted. I've tried them, but I just don't think it's worth it. I think shields everywhere is better. I sometimes take a couple of orc bows just because being able to put them on back objectives without losing, value, I think is quite nice. But other than that, I don't really bother with shooting in this list, because even the Uruk-hai bows, you end up with basically worse Uruk-hai scouts with bow, because it's only a strength 2 bow and you paid 9 points. Basically like an almost double cost orc tracker, basically, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, so tactical flexibility. It's not got the best mobility, but it's a march. 4 points.
Yeah, plenty of march. plenty of killing power in combat. The real thing is like the troops are good, but the real thing that makes this work is like the heroes have crazy good synergy. Like Shagrat with an orc in the same combat is suddenly an absolute killing machine.
Yeah,
And same thing
Gorbag
with
is very
Gorbag.
efficient.
Yeah, with Skullbag with 2 rerolls. Because the cool thing about the reroll to win the combat that they get from the Legion is stacks with a banner. So Gorbag, you can put him into 2 guys. He gets his Orcish Brawler rule, gets 3 attacks, and he can reroll 2 of them. And he gets a spear as well. You know, there's a lot of neat little synergies going on there.
Yeah, lovely. So moving on to the second place lists. Second place, Stuart McLean. Shout out, man on the ground.
Let's go. Boots on the floor.
Thanks for your help. So John, do you want to run us through this first list?
Yeah, so on the good side, we've got Minas Tirith. Leading the charge is Boromir on horse with the shield and the banner of Minas Tirith. 10 Guard of the Fountain Court with shield, 2 Rangers with spear, and finally a Knight of Minas Tirith with shield for a bit of mobility. In the second warband, we've got Madril to help with those Maelstrom rolls, 4 more Guard of the Fountain Court with shield, 3 Rangers with spear, and another Knight of Minas Tirith with a shield. The third warband is led by Hurin on a horse, 6 more Guard of the Fountain Court, 2 more Rangers with spear, and this time he's got 2 Knights of Minas Tirith for 38 models with 7 bows plus Madril's bow.
34
and on the
models.
34, apologies. And on the flip side, with Evil, Stuart's running Depths of Moria Legendary Legion. So he's got the big bad himself, the Balrog, 7 goblins with shield, 7 goblins with spear, and 4 prowlers. In the second warband, he has a Moria Goblin Captain, 3 goblins with shield, 3 goblins with spear, and just 5 naked goblins, 1 prowler in that warband. The third warband and the fourth warband are identical. He's got Black Shield Shaman leading 3 goblins with shield and 3 goblins with spear, and then, like I said, repeats that same warband for 46 models in total.
So that good list, we're looking at 20 Guard of the Fountain Court. Ooh, that is
impressive. I like it.
A lot of bodyguard D7, likely to be fight 5, assuming Boromir is around, which he should be. There's no reason for this list.
Around. It's not going well.
Yeah, if Boromir's not around, cry. It's got the squishier backline of Rangers, but again, to get to that, you've got to get through the 20 Fountain Court.
And he's got an awful lot of, because he's got in total, he can have a roughly 15-ish strong, or sorry, 12 wide battle line if he wants to spear spot everywhere, or he can spread those Fountain Court guard really wide, have the flanks kind of shielding, and then punching up through the middle. So
it's a really solid
it looks
core.
really strong.
Hurin, Boromir, Madril is just a really like dynamic core that does what you need. What I would say is he's gone very knight heavy. He's got 4, which I like knights, the lances, especially with Boromir. That's pretty cool. That's pretty nice. That seems like a lot to me. I don't think I would go for that many, considering they're each 14 points. You could probably get another 2 models on the board if you drop 2 of them. But I mean, clearly they've worked well for him. He's got 2nd place.
Do you think there's maybe one of the reasons he's got those in? Sometimes Minas Tirith is felt to have a problem with actually killing models. Kind of strength 3, not a huge weight of attacks. He's obviously got Boromir and Hurin, who are both very killy themselves, but maybe he just wanted a little bit more oomph from his warriors.
I think it is exactly for that reason. It's for punching power to help him kill Dragon Emperor Legion, for example, just to help him punch through that. If he can get a fight 5 guy and a knight on, he's probably killing.
Do you have to pay for that?
No, they have to pay for the shield though, for some reason.
Oof.
They're just a jousting society.
It's a shame Josh isn't here for this list, because this is his bread and butter.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's good.
Yeah,
I think
it's a very
solid
solid
list,
Minas Tirith list. We know, kind of looking at the stats from last year, we know they do really well at 90s.
They cook at 90s, not so much at 100s. Although to be fair, a list like that at 700 point, 100 could definitely do well. Maybe you could like vamp it up, but you could only make it very slightly better, in my opinion, at 700.
I've seen I say variant. I've seen a version where you stick Legolas in, just to give you that like that one thing you need to hit, which you can't get to because you've just got a grindy line.
Yeah.
Small point of difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
What do we think of? Oh,
sorry, go
Dave.
ahead, John. You go.
Oh no, I was going to start talking about evil.
That was like a verbal equivalent of like going in front of someone on a
Oh,
pavement
oh,
and both
oh,
going,
yeah.
ooh, ooh.
We both stepped to the same
Yeah.
side. Yeah.
Flag to
Okay.
the left.
All I was going to say was, I think, like, that's just a experiment. Well, not experiment. That's just an exercise in, can you play battle lines good? If yes, that list will do well for you. And clearly he can do it good because he's got second place.
Yeah. In theory, outgrind Dragon Emperor. In theory, well. Yeah, no, because even against Dragon Knights, their strength 4 isn't doing anything against the D7.
Yeah, I mean, against Dragon Emperor, really, they're just going to slightly win on weight of dice and then slightly win on just chancing 6s to wound. But your job then is to sling Boromir and Huron into them and kill as many as possible, because they can't really do that to you, basically. None of their models, because like Dragon Knights or Rutabi don't really go through Fountain Court as quickly as Boromir goes through Easterlings. Yeah, which should in theory give you the advantage.
So moving on to the evil list, as John tried to do because he fucking loves the Balrog. I don't really have a lot to say about this list. I think the Depths of Moria Legion is fun in concept. In reality, you have one model that does something, and as a Gil-galad player, this is a Gil-galad list, but worse. In the terms of it, it's got one big thing, the rest of it just tries to die slowly. I would say I really like Black Shield Shamans. I think the flexibility of options you have there, of you can either do the Shatter and take out something like a Boromir banner or an important
regular
hero's
banners.
weapon.
Gambling
Yeah,
banner.
regular banners. The amount of times I've just had a Black Shield Shaman, mostly from Jordan, go, that banner dead. Well, not dead, but no longer useful.
Broken.
There's 25 points gone.
Yeah. And you can't resist that either.
Yeah.
Like you were saying about Gambling Banner, 2 Black Shield Shamans, you cast
I've had it
it,
happen
you
to
don't
me,
roll a
it's very
6 to
sad.
resist. It's like, oh, there goes your 1 will point, Gambling. Goodbye, Banner. That's nasty.
I get
and
horrible.
also, the main thing that stands out to me here. Sorry, John, go for it first.
God, the rivalry continues.
Go ahead, John.
I get horrible flashbacks seeing this. I've played against it once with my Dragon Emperor, and the Balrog did nothing, and the goblins just outground my Eastling Pipe Block.
That's pretty shameful.
That's a skill issue, mate.
You should initiate decimation on that legion.
It's a big skill issue.
On other news, John has a beautifully painted Cherry Blossom Dragon Emperor legendary legion on for sale.
For sale.
Comment down below if you want to buy it.
It's a shame we don't have Jordan here for this list, because he'd be here on his 6th Madry and telling us about how the Balrog's shit and we should have the Watcher in this list instead. Because I can't help but look at this list and go, actually, if there was a Watcher and a Bat Swarm, it would do the same thing but better.
Yeah, if you could have a Watcher, a Bat Swarm, and then 80 points left over.
Yeah.
Sorry, Watcher and 2 Bat Swarms, 80 points left over. That's probably a stronger list.
Just fill up with more bats.
The thing with this list I've noticed is he's opted not to take a drum, because 700 points is small for this list, and I was thinking that seems like a lot of models, and then I realized it's because he's not got a drum, which means he's not getting part of the bonus. So I guess your mission is to shatter any enemy banners so that you then don't have to be dealing with reroll advantage, because a list like this with no banner and also no rerolls against a list that any battle line that has rerolls is going to struggle, just because it's goblins. Like, they've got +1 5 alley, but that's still fight 3. Yeah. Plus the 5 prowlers he's got in there. So I think his Balrog must have done a good job here, because frankly, that list I think would struggle into most good battle lines. They'll just sit there and beat it up. Whereas if basically the Balrog needs to roll 6s in his combats. I think I've played against this, and when it doesn't roll 6s, it just does nothing. It's just sad.
I'm just trying to work out if so Longshanks doesn't declare which list people used, which is unfortunate.
Should we move ahead and look at the winner?
Yeah, let's have a look at the winner.
Big name.
Whoa.
Ben Haslam doing his usual sniping a few early year tournaments and then petering off towards the end. I know him. I'm allowed to diss him. I swear.
Yeah.
I was going to say towards the end of what? It's 2 weeks into January.
I've heard he's a huge new signing in the
Yeah.
GBHL transfer market.
Oh, he hasn't won any tournaments for at least 2 days. What?
I don't think his team hasn't officially announced him yet. I know they mentioned in their last pod.
No. However, as rankings officer, I can confirm that Ben Haslam is on a team.
You've kind of given it away though, John, by comparing that it's another team that has a podcast. It's like,
Yeah,
who could
he
that
could be
be?
joining Entmoot.
It is Entmoot.
Is
He
it?
could be joining
that's
Into the
good.
West.
Yeah,
Could be going
Into the West. The
Anyway.
Canadian podcast. Sorry, back
Peter
to
Crouch.
the topic. So Ben Haslam, he's got in his evil list, which is listed first because it's the better of the two lists. He's got the Dragon Emperor Legion. We all love to see it. He's got the Dragon Emperor, of course, a Black Dragon Cataphract with drum, 17 Black Dragons with pike and shield. It's your standard first warband. If the warband doesn't look like this, you might be building it wrong. Comment below if you don't agree with that statement. And then he's got 1 Dragon Knight with a Black Dragon Cataphract, 4 Black Dragons, pike and shield, a Dragon Knight with a Black Dragon Cataphract, and another Dragon Knight with a Black Dragon Cataphract. So all in all, he's got 3 Dragon Knights for grinding.
On foot.
He's on foot, importantly.
Mhm.
So they haven't wasted those 15 points on the armored horse. He's got 4 Cataphracts, which aren't going to do a lot of the grinding, but they can help the Dragon Knights with heroic combats if they're being used to charge into something. The Cataphract comes in and helps. You get the knockdown, blah blah blah. I also missed that he's got a captain on armored horse at the end, so he's got march and a drum.
It's a very interesting list, that.
Yeah,
it's a slightly weird one,
but he made it work.
Oh, clearly. Things that stand out to me immediately is he's not got any Eastlings without pikes.
Yeah,
which is unusual because he's got 21 Black Dragons with pike and shield, and nothing to support apart from the 3 Dragon Knights. So, obviously he's just wanted his battle line. He's got something similar in his other list, which we'll come to in a second. But he clearly wants his line to all be able to support in any formation, which with Phalanx is good. I'll give you that. It does feel a bit like excess points.
You could drop 9 pike and shield or 8 pike and shield, specifically the pike bit, just to get a Black Dragon with shield. Then you go up to 32 models, your breakpoint increases.
Yeah, and the choice of having the captain while also having the 3 Dragon Knights is an interesting one as well. I guess it's a lot of might on the board there. That's what, 11? It's just quite a lot, 700. A lot of that is blood and glory, which means you can get it back. You've got the drum march, which means you get where you need to be extremely quickly in any objective scenarios. So yeah, I can see it working. I just think it's an interesting choice to have also that many cataphracts when you do have the 12-inch drum march.
I've often thought about Dragon Emperor with just Dragon Knights in the Legion.
He's cooking.
That's a secret fantasy of mine, because you look at like 800 points and you get the Dragon Emperor, and I think it's 9 Dragon Knights or something, maybe 10.
The only way
820 is 10 Dragon Knights. And you're just like, the Dragon Emperor is not doing what he should be doing, which is providing the fight value, but he is providing Lord of the East to all of the heroes. So
the list
coming
is
to
also
a tournament near you soon.
Only 685 points, and that's directly from what Ben has listed on Longshanks. And I double checked and open Longshanks now, so he's 15 points short with what he's listed.
Possibly he's forgotten something there. Then
are you sure the captain on armored horse definitely has the armored horse on Longshanks?
Yeah, it's listed on Longshanks.
Or maybe one of the Dragon Knights has an armored horse or something that wasn't listed. Interesting.
Maybe
if true.
Alternatively, he's following in Jay Achaya's footsteps
and just
15 points down.
His points. Jay paid 5 points down because he forgot how much crossbows cost.
Ben, comment below and tell us the answer.
Yeah, be big.
All right, and we demand that.
All right, moving on then to his good list. It's gone again. This is something he's had some success with before. He took this to a 3rd place at GBHL 100, which is impressive considering this list is widely regarded to be garbage. It's Defenders of Erebor, which is the Iron Hill. Lord of the Rings era Iron Hills plus Dale, the Legendary Legion.
Yeah.
He has Dane Ironfoot, King Under the Mountain, which is the old man version, which is strength 4, doesn't have the fearless effect. He's got 15 Iron Hills with Spear and Shield. He's got 3 Iron Hills crossbows with Spear, so that's a maxed out warband of Iron Hills. He's got King Brand, who is the hero of legend from Dale. And he's got 11 Knights of Dale, which are the 5/4 D6 elite Dale models that have spears, but if they get charged into combat, they get +1 to wound on the turn they have been charged because they have a defensive special rule.
Does that apply if they're supporting?
It does
a model
not,
that's been charged?
which is
No, I
why they're
didn't
such
think
a
so.
strange profile. He's got 7 Dale with bow and spear, so solid shooting core there. And he's got a Dale captain with no additional gear who's on his own. Clearly he agrees with me that captains are really high value for the march. I rate that. There's a bit of an interesting synergy with this list. So when the different kinds of models, Iron Hills and Dale models, are near each other, they get bonuses. Reroll 1s to wound, which is not fabulous. There's also bonuses to do with what heroes you take. So any of the royal heroes, so Dane, Thorin, Stonehelm, Brand, or Bard 2, who's the Prince of Dale, any model within 3 of them gets a banner effect. And there's also a special rule where if you take Old Dane and Brand together, or you take their Caeds, so Bard and Thorin, they get potentially 3 heroic combats if the other one is trapped, which is a slightly niche special rule. But when it comes to hero selection, I think that's important because this Legion has access to a lot of really good heroes. Like you can get Dwalin, Champion of Erebor, Gloin, you can get Biffa, Champion of Erebor in there. They're all available, but the problem is you don't really get access to the special rules if you don't spec into Dane and Brand or Thorin and Bard, which none of whom are particularly appealing points levels. However, I think this is a cool list. I think it's very cool that he's done well with this, despite the list's built-in anti-synergy with itself, because it does have anti-synergy.
I think it's interesting that he hasn't split the Brand warband and put some models in the Dale Captain warband, just for Maelstrom purposes, to give the captain something to hold out. But he might, well, actually, no, I know this having played him recently. He enjoys having 1-drops, which I think everyone does. In a top table play, if you've got a chance to not deploy your full army or a large portion of it and then go, I want to see where you're going first. It's quite nice to have that tactical flexibility. Again, he's gone 39 models. I think somewhere in the back of my mind, it's screaming, go for 40 somewhere, somehow. I know the Iron Hills are very expensive models. And
Spear and Shield isn't necessary there. Like you might be able to drop some of the spears, although there aren't official sword-armed models, which makes it more difficult.
Actually, it's a good point that, again, he's got 18 models in Brand's warband with spears. He's got 18 in Dane's warband with spears. He could drop 10 spears on the Iron Hills and add 1 Warrior of Dale.
He definitely could do that. The only thing is it seems to me, between these 2 lists, he clearly really values spears on every single model if possible, because he's done that in both of his lists, so it's clearly a deliberate choice. Like this one, 59 Hills of Spear and Shield, all the crossbows have spears, all the Dale bows have spears. He's just decided, all right, I'm going to sack off 1 extra model or whatever, and I'm going to make sure that every single model can be useful in every single situation, which I respect that. I don't always do that myself. I much prefer trying to get the extra model count, but it's a valid tactic, and it's, I think it's
something we haven't really seen, but like many other lists do. Like Goblin Town obviously does it with their Chittering Horde special rule. It's chitter. It's a strength of theirs, and it's really nice for every model to be able to spear sport. So seeing that in a traditional non-chittery list is quite cool.
Yeah, agreed. I think also the Dane model, we can see that's just the GW stock photo, but the Dane holding, I'm going to butcher the name, sorry Ali King and every other dwarf player, Barazanthul or whatever it is, Barazanthul, something like that.
It's Barazanthul.
It's a really cool model, and I love the sculpt, and that's as an elf player.
Yeah, no, I like the Dane and Thorin Stonehelm models. They're very nice.
let's keep it chittering and have a look at our next tournament.
Chitter, baby.
You were at this one, right, Elliot?
Yeah, I was at this event.
Big. What was the
No,
format
it
like?
wasn't a big. It was a
Oh, was it?
Darkfire Cafe.
Of course, sorry, my bad.
So Denizens in the Dark. It's the
Easy
second
peasy.
GBHL 90 in St Albans, not London.
Not
so
London.
The southeast region. Although London is also in the southeast. 600 points, 4 rounds. Most sporting was Martin Seed, which is lovely to see because we chucked him onto our Into the West team. Very
did
last
win it for
minute, we
us.
messaged him and he said he'd love to be on our team. So it's very nice to see him.
Yeah, definite friend of the channel.
Yeah, friend of the channel. Shout out Martin, lovely guy. He's won most sporting with. You'll see which army he's using. Spoiler. He's also got my most sporting vote, I believe, when he was using Vanquishers. So lovely guy. And best painted was Thomas Denny, which I believe we're about to see his army next.
Ooh.
It's a lovely looking.
I saw this in the flesh.
Yeah, that's
very nice.
gorgeous.
Oh, it was so nice.
Also, a very
Traditional paint
unified
scheme.
base theme with a brown rim.
I like the paint scheme. I know it's just
Yeah.
classically, it's the classic Rohan scheme, but it just executed really nicely. It's always a secret to know that that's obviously we only have a photo, but you can always tell that's going to be well painted because if it's a regular paint scheme and it's been, it's one of the best painted, it must have looked absolutely amazing. Are those alternate horses, or are they like cataphract horses or something?
They look like they might be No, they can't be
No,
because
they've got armor on them. And
Yeah.
Royal horses, I mean, Rohan only have 2 horses, apparently, other than the ones they give their heroes. So maybe
And
that's
even
it.
then-
Maybe those are some third-party ones, or maybe they're cataphract. They look like vaguely like the cataphract horses, but also
they could
maybe
be
a bit less armed.
cataphracts.
I don't know. Wow. Either way, some extra work done there, which probably helps that effect a lot. I think we thought Royal Guard should have had armored horses, maybe thematically rather than gameplay-wise, just because they're the Royal Guard. Look amazing. Very nice.
The gambling banner as well. He's actually taken the time to do multiple outlines in the gold and red.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very
There's a
nice.
reason
And he's
why I
also
never
done
finished my
some
gambling
highlighting on the lighting points, which is quite
Lovely.
nice.
And you can't see it on the photo that we've got here because it's like front ways, but the back of Aowen's cloak on Dernhelm is a fucking work of art. I'll tell you that for free.
Lovely.
Lovely.
How did you get on at this event, Elliot?
Do you know what, John? It's not about where you finish. It's about having a nice time, meeting some nice people, rolling some dice.
You tell us about the army you took first.
So this was 600 points, and I took pure champs of Erebor.
Chad.
Yeah, just got 7 of the lads in there. It's quite
And
good
you
fun.
came. I'll just hazard a guess. Did you come like 11th out of 24? Or
I think I came smack on 11th. I don't actually know. I didn't actually.
That's
check.
top half. That's
you
top
did
half.
come
yeah.
11th out of 24. You went 2 and 2, which I think with an all hero, all foot army, albeit a good all hero army. I think Champions of Erebor, Kalman Eriksson. Is it Kalman Eriksson?
No, Kalman Steele's right.
Kalman Steele's right. Sorry, 2 different people. Has had quite some success with the army, so I think it's quite. It can work.
I think it's a bit scenario dependent.
Well, unwittingly to me, it was a veto tournament. I did not know this until I asked the TO what game we were playing, game 1.
He asked
so,
and he asked me what I was playing.
A veto tournament, you say?
Yes.
I wonder if the lists that have done well don't have leaders that will be good in Contest of Champions.
What lists have done well, Stephen?
Oh, wow. Let's have a look at 3rd place. It's Martin Seed again. What?
I'll put it this guy. I belittled him many times throughout the day for taking this to a small local 90.
He's actually I had a conversation with him about this, and he said he loves playing AOL and he loves playing Vanquishers, and his main aim is to make the opponent have a nice game while he's using this army.
What a mad lad.
I'll have a run through. It's Musga as the leader. Of course, he now has to be, as per the FAQ from earlier this year. He's got an Orc warrior with banner and shield, 6 Orcs with shield, 5 Orcs with spear and shield, 2 trackers, and a bat swarm. Druzag, 5 goblins with bow and spear, 1 goblin with bow, 3 prowlers, 2 giant spiders, Moria goblin shaman, 5 goblins with bow spear, 3 prowlers, an Orc captain with warg and shield, 3 warg riders with throwing spear and shield, and 1 wild warg. That's 600 points, 42 models, 13 bows. There's also some stats about breaking if you care about that.
Small.
Yeah,
It's not a very
quite
big list.
It's quite small for a AOL list. Dave, you're a AOL connoisseur, of course, but looking at this, the almost 40 points of Wild Riders is quite a lot.
Choice. So with the change to this list that happened in last August, you cannot have more goblins than orcs. You have to have equal or more number of orcs, which can make building the list a real pain at smaller points levels, because you want to have your goblin bows, because they're the thing that give you the shooting dominance over people with regular bows and non-goblins who can't see in the dark. But then you're stuck not being able to get enough prowlers because you need to have a bunch of regular orcs, which are kind of more vulnerable. It's a tough list to build. I think he sort of dodged that a bit by not really going super heavy on the shooting. So he's got a few prowlers. He's only got a couple of giant spiders, which in my opinion is the correct choice. You only want a couple of giant spiders and 1 bat swarm at 600, just because you just don't have the numbers otherwise. And he's also not got loads of numbers here, so it's a good thing. He's also got a wild warg that he can enrage. He can always dismount his warg riders if he needs to get more bodies down for his Druzag to enrage. I will say this list always does better in veto tournaments, just because you can do more shooting that this list wants to do.
Yeah.
And you can avoid contests, which is not unwinnable with MESBG, but it does make it a lot more hard than you want it to be. So,
it did come up as one of the 3.
There you go.
So.
Probably vetoed it, I reckon.
But for this list, as well as another list, which we will see later on, the ability to put your lads on the table and have time to set up and then shoot a little bit, especially when one of your special rules is you get +1 to wound against non-cave dwelling models. It's a really key part where if suddenly let's say you've taken 5, maybe 10, if you had a really good 3 turns of shooting with your prowlers as well, if you've taken that many models off the table, suddenly you're almost doubling opponents, maybe. It really, really helps you then bring your numbers to bear, which then synergizes with the +1 to wound from outnumbering your combats. If that's what the list wants to do. If you have to start like this in Contest of Champions, you don't get time to do that shooting. You just have a grind fight where you are fight 3, fight 2, strength 3 orcs and goblins. Doesn't do the same.
Should we compare this one to second place?
Yes.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Second place, Thomas Seacombe, a guy who I've never actually personally spoken to, but I think he was at my very first GBHL tournament, and he's been playing pretty consistently throughout the years. They also have a YouTube channel, which I don't think they post on anymore, but it's East Anglia Hobbit community. So shout out you guys. He's got MESBG, of course, you have to take MESBG. Orc Warrior with shields, 5 Orc Warriors with spear, 1 Orc Warrior with banner spear, 1 Wild Rider with throwing spears, 3 Orc Trackers, a Bat Swarm and a Wild Warg, an Orc Captain with Warg and shield, 1 Orc Warrior with shield, 4 Orc Warriors with spear, 3 Orc Trackers, 1 Wild Warg, Druzag. Oh my god, there's so many models in this list.
You've got this. We believe in you.
1 Warrior Goblin Warrior with shield, 2 with spear, 4 with bow, 3 prowlers, 2 giant spiders, and then finally he's got a Goblin Shaman with 1 Goblin Warrior with shield, 2 with spear, 4 with bow, and 2 more prowlers for 48 models.
So the first thing I would say with this, and the difference between this list and the last list, is he's described his boys as units. 48 units. Like, you're not getting through those, are you? Fucking come at me.
The really interesting thing about this is this really shows. So Tom Seckham here has gone for. He's got the same hero selection and he's got the same amount of beasties. 1 additional wild warg. The difference is he's the main way he's saved points by the looks of it is he's gone budget on all of his units.
Yes.
He's not taken any with multiple gear, which is one of the big ways you can get the numbers down now. Like, the only thing he's like really not done that with at all is the Warg Rider. The Warg Riding Captain doesn't need a shield. You can get another guy in, but other than that, like this, he's got a lot more shooting. He's got I wouldn't say a lot more actually.
He's got 8
14
goblin bows.
And yeah, he's got 14 bows, which is a little more. I don't know if he could have more. Yeah, he could have another bow. Interesting. Obviously, personally, I would always advocate for maxing out the bows. Is that right? Am I correct? I think I'm. No, I think I'm being stupid. No, I think he is maxed out bows. Sorry, that's my bad.
He's got one fewer prowler, which at 7 points is obviously they're quite expensive.
They are, yeah. Prowlers are really nice. They're kind of luxury, and at the smaller points, getting them in is difficult. When I was building this at 800, it was hard enough to get a solid core of prowlers, let alone at 600, where you have very limited units. They were tough. Yeah, 2 spiders, 1 bat swarm. It works. Clearly, it's a solid list. And when you can take away its worst matchups, it's really good. Really good.
Yeah, it's definitely a list that likes veto.
Yeah.
Should we look at first place? Potentially another list that likes veto. Friend of the channel, Tom Patterson of Atomic Cards. Check out his YouTube channel and check out his store. Leading his army, he's got the Master of Lake Town, 6 Lake Town Guard with bow, 5 Guard with bow and spear, and 4 Guard with no extra equipment. Then he's got Bard with a horse in the armor, Bard's kids, Sigrid and Tilda, leaving the son at home, 5 Guard with axe swaps, 7 Guard with spear. Then he's got Braga, 5 more Guard with axe swaps, 5 Guard with spear. Alfred leading 6 more Guard with bow and 6 Guard with spear. So in total, he's got 55 models in 28 to break and 17 bows plus Bard. What do you think of this one?
A lot of boys.
It's a lot of boys.
You said you touched on it does really well at veto. I can't remember what the scenario was in the middle that Tom played, but he played Recon first, and I think Breakthrough was one of the other scenarios as well.
Very good scenarios for this.
And what's the other opposite corners?
Divide and Conquer.
Dead Zone in the middle.
Command the Battlefield.
That was one of them as well. So obviously all very, very good at those scenarios.
But this is a sort of conservative version of this list. He's not got loads and loads of models, but Bard just sort of does everything okay. He's a lot of points in this list, but he sort of covers a lot of bases, so I can see it working nicely. It can also mitigate some of the weaknesses. If you don't want to play Fog or Assassination with your little vulnerable heroes, you can avoid that because you've got 3 1 wound, 1 fate. Well, the girls have got 2 fate, but 3 1 wound heroes is a bit sketchy if you're against anything with decent shooting.
Yeah, and if you're not into anything with decent shooting and in the killing pools, you can veto into Lords. You actually don't mind because you've got the 17 bows plus Bard. By the time they get to you, you probably killed maybe 5 to 10 models. And then you've got Bard heroic combating everywhere. He'll be using his might almost exclusively to kill stuff, I would have thought, just on the basis that anyone who doesn't know the synergy or anti-synergy, if you've got Lake Town Guard within 3 inches of Braga, they can't benefit from Bard's heroics or the heroics of his kids.
They can't move as part of that.
They can't move as part of it. Sorry.
Subtle but important difference.
Yes.
Why we have you on, Dave?
Yeah,
we can't trust them to the rules.
We were literally discussing this the other day. Does that mean, for example, that you could use it to call a move on one half but not affect the other half, and then move those afterwards to respond to your opponent?
Yeah, it's a cheeky one, because one of the cool things you can do with Alfred is if you put might onto 0 might heroes, there's no downside even if you roll a 1. So Alfred, when he rolls a 1, he takes a might point away from a hero. But if you're targeting, say, for example, Sigrid or Tilda, they then get, even if you roll a 1, Alfred just gets a might point. They don't have any to
Shout
lose.
out Sam Grattan targeting the kids. That's free real estate.
Yeah. But that also means that if, say, for example, you gave Tilda a might point and she called a heroic move next to when Braga was nearby, any Lake Town Guard within 3 of Braga will not move as part of that heroic. But that means you can the ones that aren't within 3 of him could step forward, seal a gap. Your opponent then might go before the rest of your army, but then you can then also countercharge. It's one of the only ways you can go ahead of and after an opponent on the same flank within the same 6 of a hero with the might point, which is not useless, although it is a niche interaction, I would say.
Yeah. So summarize this list. As Tom would say, it's a lot of blokes,
Just a lot of lads.
A lot of guys.
lot of boys.
Yeah. Won all 4 games.
He's done well.
Smashed it.
Good job,
Yeah,
Tom.
Including
Nice to-
he beat Tom
Martin.
to come at.
Oh.
Well, he
Oh, he
also
beat
beat
Tom,
Martin
sorry.
as well. Yeah, he beat both of them. Beat Tom round 1 Recon, and then he beat Martin at Command the Battlefield, I believe.
Yeah,
Pretty
so
nice list that can beat AOL at Recon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out Tom, well done.
Let's have a look at the fledgling meta of 2024. We have 4 events.
Nerf AOL is what I'm saying. Which AOL do I mean?
Mate, Kira Thunkot was correct.
Army of Dunland? Holy shit.
Is that like back in last summer when people were talking about AOL and you're like, do you mean Army of Lake Town or Assault on Lothlorien? Whoa, waka waka.
The top 3 best armies in the game are Lake Town, Assault on Lothlorien, and Minister. Heard it here first.
Confirmed. This is all the data we need.
Already added to John's basket on GW side.
Panic bought all the
That's going straight in my basket.
I own 2 out of 3 of those.
Yeah, true.
My call on that is Army of Lake Town is, I think, better than people gave it credit for post nerf. The main thing is now it has serious weaknesses that you can't effortlessly mitigate with alliances, which I think is good. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with the list, but man spam, and they do have a decent tech option in Thorin's company. And if you get really big points, if you take Bard, you can still ally with other things. You can still do yellow alliances. You just can't remove the master as your leader by taking Guahir or
the
whatever.
12-inch banner effect is really good.
Yeah.
So if you're trading that off for a yellow alliance, you have to think about it hard now. Because if you're paying the points for Bard and losing the 12-inch
and taking the thing you're allying, it's a big trade.
Having played 1 game at Into the West, not knowing it was a 12-inch banner, and then playing it by 6 games as a 12-inch banner, I was like, oh, this is fucking cracked at low points.
What else did you forget about the list, Stephen, at Into the West?
Not that it would have mattered, I don't think, but the Master has 2 attacks, which in contest means he's not the worst.
And he's strength 4.
Like, he's also strength 4.
Why? Why
Stephen Fry's a big
that
man.
Guy?
He's
a big man, but if you've seen the movie,
boy.
doesn't give off a fighty vibe. Let's put it that way. He's a better fighter than Kirdan, who is a very, very old elf lord. So there you go.
But Kirdan's also strength 4.
Yeah, but
those testicles give him strength.
Presumably, why Stephen thought the Master would surely only have 1 attack.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Bard is a nice option. I think he's very rarely worth the points if you take the daughters as well, because 180 points for a hero that doesn't get one of his main bonuses, who's only D5. Is
D5 is you if you fluff a combat, you can die, so you have to spend your might.
Yeah. Him not being the leader is nice though. So
before we move on to questions, we'll just end the stats and meta chat by saying that elves do not have a podium in 2024.
Technically, Lothlorien, so on, but
there's a Salt and Lothlorien, and then there's Salty Lothlorien.
Rivendell has as many podiums as
different things.
So we had a few YouTube comments from our adoring fans that we'll go through. Fred Run DJS says, great cast, guys. And he has 2 questions. Firstly, Denby, when are you uploading the High Dave Supercut?
So this is the guy who's been pestering me on the Guardians Discord. Not the reason I muted it. That was because it was distracting me from work. At some point, I will do this. I have promised it. It will happen. It's just actually going to be more work than I thought it was going to be because I delete all footage after I finish editing.
And the second question is, are there any international tournaments we're planning to attend this year? Well,
Dave will probably be plundering Scotland and Northern Ireland.
Very international.
So if we're talking about my international tournaments, I am going to definitely 1, probably at least 2 international tournaments this year. I'm not going to the WTC because it's the same weekend as the 7th City Grand Prix. Which you
don't need an excuse to not go to the WTC.
No, but I am giving an excuse.
Dave
also, I'm not entirely happy. I'm not entirely happy with how it's being run. Anyway,
yes, I think there are quite a few
that's as
people
far as I'm going with that. I'm going to be going to the Nations Cup in Belgium in the summer as part of England One, which is a competing similar style of team tournament. I'm also like 90% planning to go back to the PTC again this year because it was a lot of fun. I'd love to get some more people along. It was a really great time.
For those unaware, that's Polish team championships, which
they call it the DMP.
4 people went over there and had a lot of fun. Jakob, Dave, Ali King, and also, oh my God, how am I forgetting his name? Luke Hilder,
mate.
sorry.
Luke Hilder.
Had a load of fun and came second. So shout out to those 3.
A mighty result.
We've looked at Ardacon, which is technically an international tournament.
I'm also intending to go to that.
Yeah, I'd like to go to Ardacon.
I think I'd consider it this year, depending on wedding dates and whatnot, with a few other things that are going on. Not my wedding. Not my wedding.
Tune in next episode for Stephen's engagement plans.
Shout out Monica, but not my wedding, no.
She can listen to this.
Ooh, I have a girlfriend. Our next question is not from Stephen's girlfriend. It's from Bert Leach, who
he is my girlfriend.
Hey, whoa.
That's
funny.
Not quite a question, but Bert tells us he loves the pod style. Can't wait to watch more and more. Good work, gents. Promise I'll try and take a more interesting list next time, in reference to Stephen rudely calling him boring.
Bert, you're a wonderful gentleman, but tell me I'm wrong.
I was gonna say that had a butt hanging off of it like a mile high. It was like, you're a wonderful gentleman. ... No, I mean he's got 2 lists he uses. He's got Defenders and Assault on Helm's Deep.
Both of which have totally different play styles.
Just a fluff player. Player.
I mean, I've never seen any evidence to suggest that he's not a fluff player.
I did have a lovely game against Bert.
Yeah, I've never had a bad game against Bert.
The only JP1 asks, what's everyone's favourite model aesthetically?
John, I think you should answer this question first.
We will answer that on a future podcast episode when it's a quiet news week.
It is an elf model for mine, but not the one you think.
Mine's a human model.
Yeah, we know which one yours is.
It was a fun quiz question on the impromptu pub quiz at dinner.
It's the Alfred model. The Alfred. I realised that video clip can be taken out of context. It's the Alfred in a dress model.
Big titty Alfred.
Yeah.
Best model in the game. We're going to ignore that comment until he gives us a similar ranking system that he gives to other podcasts.
Yeah, don't even know who that is.
Yeah.
Dave, why don't you read out that comment?
Shout out to Dave. Huge love for me for the shout out. Yeah. Thanks, Connor.
Great video, guys.
It's nice when YouTubers support other YouTubers.
Yeah, no, I mean his content is good. To be fair, I started watching it when I went over to basically when I went to the Northern Ireland Open mini for Onodiad run by Michael Bradford. Shout out. Last summer, Connor did along with a couple others, did a big long. We literally went through all the lists, and obviously me being the sweat was like, what has he got? Listen to all his content. I've checked out some of the stuff. It's good stuff. You should look it up.
Go check him out. Hopefully there'll be a link in the description to what he's like.
Long form discussions of lots and lots of lists. They've got quite a few videos like that. It is good stuff. I love that shit. It's my bag.
Giordano Brian says watermarks less than 3. Don't know what you're talking about. Our logo is garbage.
Garbo, I heard.
We've got great content from person who's definitely not a paid actor in the comments.
Yeah, Lawrence Step 159.
Fat Hobbit Gaming loved it. Look forward to the next season, 2024.
That's Liam Smith.
Is it?
Yeah. Lovely guy. If you haven't been to one of his Worcester tournaments, I always shout him out in videos whenever I can. Go to his Worcester tournaments; they're great. They always.
Liam's tournaments very good. Good prizes.
Liam and Laura, lovely people.
More fellow YouTuber shout outs. Stoked to have another podcast to listen to during the commute. Keep it up. Jack Remmer asks, what do we mean by Indiana Jones and the Treasure Seeker? So this was in reference to the event in Bangor, the Battle of Numerous Tiers, I think was the name.
Yes.
So they had a special rule in their event pack, kind of where you could collect relics, and every army got a free Moria Goblin captain with some tweaked rules to kind of go along with their army. So some players in their list kind of had it written down. So I think Ivan called his Treasure Seeker Indiana Jones. Other players didn't have it written, so that's what that one was.
There were custom miniatures for it as well. Some people had, like, one of them had a T100 the Terminator miniature for his, which is pretty cool. A lot of them were like based off Lord of the Rings miniatures. Like there was one that was a Thrain the Broken converted to stand on top of a giant gold chest with a pickaxe in his hand, like, that's my money.
I think
But it
that
was
one
like,
won, didn't it?
it might have done. It was
I
definitely
think it
one
was
of the
that
pictures.
one. There was a player vote and a TO pick.
Yeah, that
I
one
think
won the
that
player
one won
vote.
the player vote, and the TO pick was a really nicely converted and well
Given that
painted
the TO
dwarf.
is Sean Sproul, who is an absolutely godlike painter himself, he picked the godlike Chris Cousins, which was a converted dwarf. I think it was a converted Gimli with a shield and a two-handed axe, and it was absolutely stunning. And everything Chris Cousins paints is absolutely stunning. So if you ever get a chance to check it out, please do, because it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Mr. Beaver says, "Great job, guys. Really good listen. Looking forward to more. How often will we be covering the stats? Probably every week, every time we do a pod.
Yeah, every week.
Yeah,
That's the
I
intent.
think eventually it'll become a bit more relevant than the 4 tournaments we cover so far in the year.
I can't wait to get like to July and it's like, so Kirith Ungle's 18 podiums down.
If I
They're
start
all
taking
Dave.
it could happen.
Woses.
Yeah, Woses. So James Goebel from here till the end of the year.
Yeah.
Just absolutely stomping the league.
And Gollum's Gamers have finally commented, insert Spider-Man meme. So
I don't understand the reference. Hey, it's Ash.
Rather handsome there, John.
Please comment next week with some questions rather than just compliments, because as lovely as it is to hear, we don't need to stroke our egos any more than we already do.
I'll take
stroke
compliments.
my ego.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've got compliments, but if you consider complimenting Josh, Elliot, and Jordan a little more, that's all right.
Hey, no one's complimented me yet.
No one needs to.
Okay,
because I'm so perfect. You mean?
All right, never mind. Don't compliment.
On a serious note, though, yeah, please do put some comments, some questions, and whatnot. We will do our best to answer all the questions. Don't ask us rules questions, because go to the FAQ or ask someone. This is not a rules podcast. Message David Farmer on Facebook for your rules queries.
I had someone DM me after my appearance on MMOOT recently. DM me asking specifically about the list that I alluded to in passing, because he wanted to know exactly what I'd run. So people want to know these things.
Yeah. Thanks, John, for just now removing the full screen, so the recording will probably have just been totally changed into a slightly different. You now can see our faces, basically. Thank you all for coming to listen. Join us next week, where we might have a special guest, a very important special guest. Some would say a champion of the community.
All right.
Chitter chitter.
Chitter chitter, boys.
Bye-bye. That was good. Well done, dads. I mean, to be fair, Jordan, if Jordan was here, he'd
I was going to say there'd be a lot of crack.